I believe that monuments don't belong to the Egyptian civilization.
You're out of your mind.
Technical use of the shafts, and maybe they are connected to the use of energy.
You need to use this freaking number that is in your head. The number is in your head. There is no...
Pyramids is the conjunction between archaeology and science.
This isn't science. Stop calling him a scientist. 7, and this is just one of the 3 digits. Come on, man. Okay, so now he's you. Oh, this is incredible. This is incredible.
So I agree entirely with that, Armando.
How do you agree with that, Jay Anderson? How? How do you agree with the numbers that he just made out of thin air? Today, instead, he's telling us that number 137 is connected to electromagnetism, relativity, and quantum physics. And I thought the number was reincarnation, Armando Mei. I thought it was the transfiguration of the soul into the spirit of the next life. What happened to that? This video is a section of the exclusive interview with Armando Mei and Filippo Biondi, recorded by Jay Anderson on the channel Project Unity. You'll find a link in the description and in a pinned comment to the original full episode.
I think it's important, and by all means, Armando, you can weigh in on this as well. But I highlighted this in a recent video. I think it's important to talk about the material composition of the Giza Plateau and the pyramids themselves. And it's my opinion, and perhaps you'll agree with me here, that the Giza Plateau's limestone composition and the pyramid itself, with the inclusion of rose quartz granite, might be creating, you could say, like an energetic coupling between the acoustic amplification of limestone, which obviously would create this mechanical stress, the piezoelectric effects of granite. Could this coupling effect of limestone and granite be assisting the amount of subsurface vibration that your team is discovering? Right. Is the material composition of Giza unique for this type of study?
First of all, I beg your pardon for my English, because as Filippo said, it's not our first language. So
people will forgive you and understand, and they will appreciate that you're both making the effort to do this. So do not worry.
Okay, thank you. My first approach to the Giza Plateau, and particularly to the pyramids, start from the particular features of the monuments, because they are very, very intriguing, and in my opinion are not compatible with the tools and skills of the...
He meant compatible, just in case you couldn't, because it sounded like comfortable. It's compatible.
Egyptians during the 4th dynasty, and particularly during the 4th, the ancient Old Kingdom, but the 4th dynasty. That is why I approach the study of the monuments from a different point of view, because I believe that monuments don't belong to the Egyptian civilization. But we also must...
I wish he told us what civilization they belong to then, if they don't belong to the Egyptian civilization. It is important to keep in mind that the Egyptian civilization spans all the way down to at least 5,000 years in the past. It's something that I always love saying, the idea that from the point of view of Cleopatra, the pyramids were ancient. They're not just ancient from our point of view, they're ancient from her point of view. In fact, she's closer to the development of the iPhone than she was to the pyramids. With that being said, it is a very strong statement to say they don't belong to the Egyptians. And you have to justify that statement. That's how it works. And that's when I say methodology and Mr. Mei, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You make the statement, great. Which civilization is it then? And why don't you think it belongs? He only said because the tools weren't sufficient. Okay, but that could tell us that the Egyptians maybe utilized tools that we don't know they had, but it would still belong to the Egyptians, so it's not enough. You see where I'm going with this? He makes a statement, connects it to something that does not justify it sufficiently, and then drops it.
Better analyze these monuments from a scientific point of view, because all around the world, everyone says something about it. There are lots of theories about the pyramids, who built them, how the pyramids were built, but no one has a precise idea of what those monuments are. Pyramids of Cheops, for example, that is composed by sandstone from the great part, and the granite for the inside chambers, the chamber of the king, for example, and also by limestone. During my last investigation on the field, I noted, because this is a question that asked me Professor Corrado Malanga, that is the team leader of the Khafre project, because he asked me, take a look to the base of the pyramids, because I believe there is something strange that you must investigate. And he refers to the platform on which the pyramids were built. See,
Right.
the pyramids of Cheops, the pyramids of Khafre, for example, and the pyramid of Menkaure as well. Because all the three pyramids are based on slabs of limestone that penetrate the ground for at almost 6 meters in 16 meters under the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And we know
And then on the bedrock.
that exploring the underground of Giza using the saw. And when we discover, and I'm referring to the Khafre pyramid, when we discover the coils under the pyramid of Khafre, we elaborated two kind of possible solution in the effort to understand why those shafts were built under the pyramids of Khafre. Maybe the first possible hypothesis is to port the weight of the monuments, okay? Because we made a study on the possible weight of the pyramids in respect of the base where it was built. And without these slabs, the monument very likely would collapse.
Would it collapse regardless of the bedrock? Because it's not just sand underneath it. So I am a little confused. Like he says, without the support generated by these enormous pillars, shafts, if you will, it would collapse. So do all pyramids have this underneath? Did the other pyramids show this? Because if not the case, that would already debunk the claim.
So this slabs is very important limestone that is at the base of the pyramids, connected to the tubular, the coils that goes in the underground. Another possibility is a technical use of the shafts, and maybe they are connected to the use of energy. But
connected to the use of energy. I do not remember them saying this during the conference. I'm very happy that he said this now, because this finally justifies the fact that people say, oh, are they enormous power plants? I think it would be great, but it sounds sci-fi to me. If you want me to be open-minded when it comes to this possibility, then we have to find evidence that is sufficient to remove the phi part of sci-fi. In other words, if this is used so that the pyramids can produce energy, what was this energy used for? Where are the objects? Because as far as I know, we have never found any technological. We never found a computer. We never found weapons that require electricity. We have never found light bulbs in Egyptian homes. What is this energy being used for? Even if they were capable of producing energy, a civilization doesn't begin to produce energy unless they are used to it. What do they use the energy for?
Of course, those are also hypotheses that we must study scientifically, but exploration is very important.
Exactly.
Why I'm saying that?
Finally, I agree with him. Yeah, let's go dig. I always say that.
Because in 2012, I was studying the pyramid of Khafre based on a mathematical and arithmetical model of analysis. And I approached particularly the sites of the monuments, elaborating by this model, mathematical model. And
when he says mathematical model, I would like to underline that at least when it comes to his section of the presentation on the conference, it just meant numerology, just so you know.
I noted that the monuments, the sites of the monuments are based on the first two prime number of the table of a prime number. That is to say, in the case of Khafre, the number 11 and the number 3.
But yeah, it's numerology.
But what is very important is that that monument contains the number 137. And the number...
It doesn't. It does not contain the number 137. He completely made that one up. Completely. In fact, I would like to remind you of that. I'll do it in a second.
And 137 is a basic number for physicists because it's the base from which originated electromagnetism, relativity, and quantum physics.
Okay, so now this is incredible. This is incredible. So, in the conference, just to remind you how he used numerology to create deductions on what the ancients actually meant for him to find out, messages and all of that. This is what he said. He then makes a statement according to which, since there are no hieroglyphs that we can read in these pyramids, he needs to find their code, which he believes to be numbers. This is where it's gonna get really insane with Mr. Mei. Around minute 45, it ditches the pyramids for a moment and focuses our attention to the Temple of the Valley, which is once again one of the temples that is found in the complex proper. He provides this 2D projection of the temple seen from on high, and that's where he goes absolutely insane. Remember that he mentioned before that he needed to decode whatever the heck these ancient people were trying to tell us without using hieroglyphs, and that he was going to use numbers. Well, here they are. So what he does, he sees this little thing here, which is part of the map of the corridors inside the temple, and interprets this as number 3. Then he says that there are 16 columns, and for some reasons that he does not explain, he tells us, well, there's 16 columns, so that means 7. I now know that it's because apparently numerology, whenever you have a number that is made of 2 digits, they create the sum of it. So yeah, 16 would be 6 plus 1 equals 7, which is once again something that the original engineers / aliens that built the temples, that's what they did. They literally chose 16 columns, not to support the structure from an architectural standpoint, no. They did it so that someone 30,000 years in the future, 36,000 years in the future could, meaning Armando Mei, could interpret it as, they put 16 columns, that means 6 plus 1, 7, and this is just one of the 3 digits. Come on, man. For whatever reason, that means 7. Then he says that there is this little niche in here, for some reasons decides to single this one out, give up on anything else, the rooms, the other corridors, nothing. He just decided that this niche is important, there is only one, and therefore this gives us number 1, and comes in this extremely dishonest way to number 137. At this point, he gives up trying to make sense of number 173, acknowledging that that made no sense, and decides to, for whatever reason, flip it. I translate, open quotes, which, and I didn't even do it on purpose, appears to be the anagram of number 371. Could be anagram of whatever, close quotes. He then explains to tell us that this number represents, open quotes, the transcendent form of man which reincarnates himself to a new life, close quotes. You'll hear a lot of these, by the way. He then finally mentions the city of Amen. Then he comes up with another number, 432, telling that this connects space-time with immortality, and affirms that all of this that we have just seen created out of thin air is, open quotes, an indication of what could be underneath the Giza Plateau, close quotes. Okay, yeah. All right, I think I gave you an idea. Today, instead, he's telling us that number 137 is connected to electromagnetism, relativity, and quantum physics, which means that's how he's going to justify. So he's going to use it first. And I thought the number was reincarnation, Armando Mei. I thought it was the transfiguration of the soul into the spirit of the next life. What happened to that? Just ditch it? Or now it's electromagnetism because you need to use this freaking number that is in your head. The number is in your head. There is no ancient Egyptian architect, no ancient Ice Age civilization architect, no grey architect / reptilian architect that literally built 36,400 years ago the number of columns and the corridor and the one niche looking like this so that you could think of the number to justify the fact that these shafts are now energy producers. You're out of your mind. This isn't science. Stop calling him a scientist.
And if there is this cult in the pyramid of Khafre and also in the pyramid of Khufu, it means that this number was very important for the civilization of build that monument. So I believe that the only way to better understand the purpose of the pyramids is the conjunction between archaeology and science. This is
neither were used to come up with this numerical significance, not to mention even with the numbers themselves. You did not use archaeology, and you did not use science. You used nothing.
The only way to understand what happened in the ancient past.
Yes, I agree entirely with that, Armando.
How do you agree with that, Jay Anderson? How do you agree with that entirely? I'm asking you this question. Feel free to leave a comment. How do you agree with the numbers that he just made out of thin air?
Oh, thank you. And now, Armando, maybe you can touch on this.
Please.
Because the history of Egypt and the history of the Giza Plateau, the claims of subterranean structures, underground labyrinths, this is not a new claim. This is not alone in a vacuum. This is quite a historically recognized, going significantly far back in time, from explorers and Egyptologists and archaeologists and scholars who have claimed this. So what would you say about the historical evidence regarding subterranean structures and sacred halls in Giza?
In fact, I have to say that I confirm that this is not the first time that a possible existence of a city in the underground of Giza exists. Because, for example, in 1930, an Egyptologist, Salim Hassan, stated in his work, Discovered Structures Beneath the Pyramids, he announced the possible existence of an hidden city under the pyramids. But also all these tunnels, corridors that originated from the surface of Giza, goes in the underground, were explored in the past by Hakim Abdullawian, for example, that explored the tunnels. Also, Andrew Collins, that explored the tunnels originating from the NC2 tomb of the birds. So there are lots of study and research along the last century that could prove the existence of something in the underground of Giza. So we started from all these studies, and we approach a new model of analysis that lead us to discover these structures that are unbelievable. Because Filippo is correct, because when we first saw what were the results of the detection of the star, we believed it's impossible. This is impossible, but we analyzed the subsurface for different points with different satellites, as Filippo told, and the results is always the same. So we are sure that under the pyramids are the structure we showed during the conference of March 16.
Well, it's just phenomenal. I mean, this is the most significant discovery in human history.
A little premature to say that, Jay Anderson. We don't know that. It may be. I mean, think about it. It would be the most significant discovery in human history if these shafts are there, they're artificial, they have glass spirals, they're made of freaking titanium, they produce energy. Then I would agree with you. It's like, okay, we are not alone, 100% confirmed, the aliens were here. Or if it's not the aliens, it would have been like that there was an advanced civilization, but then it collapsed, we have to rewrite everything. Then yes, I would agree. However, even if the shafts are there, if they are something a lot more, like they don't produce energy, they're not made of weird materials, they're just dug, it's significant because it's impressive. How did they do it? But would it be the most significant discovery in human history? At that point, I don't know if it would be. And then clearly, if this ends up being noise, or if this ends up being, or they're just mines, or if this ends up being natural pathways, then it's not a discovery at all. So it's a little too soon to call it we need the evidence. It could be, but we need to prove it. So dig. You have to dig. After you dig, then we can talk about it.
Regarding our own story, where we came from, what were we capable of in the distant past. This is obviously meeting significant scrutiny in the mainstream world because of the models and frameworks that have been developed over time this contradicts those models, this contradicts those frameworks, and it's going to make some people very angry. In fact, how would you both respond to individuals such as Zahi Hawass, the former minister for the Department of Antiquities in Egypt, who's been pretty critical of the findings? He does not believe it to be true, and many of the archaeologists who are in the more traditional side are falling in alignment with that position. So how do you respond to those who are dismissing all of this and encouraging people, I would say, from what I've seen, to laugh at the very idea of this being possible? What would you say to those people?
We usually respond with data coming from scientific models.
Filippo does. You don't.
Applying to our studies. We know with the announcement without any scientific value. So generally we discuss with people, and we make a statement all around the world, just only if we have the certainty that results are precise. Zahi Hawass, in my opinion, of course, is very well-known Egyptologist, and he worked extensively for his country to bring to light the wonders of the Egyptian civilization. Nevertheless, Hawass make some statement in the last 10 days, but he was not well informed on the technology we were using. Right. So I suggest him to learn before to say something that is not correct.
That's fair.
Anyway, we are always open to the scientific community. We are ready to discuss with them to improve also our job that we are doing, because the cooperation between different field of investigation of scientific field is very important to move forward to the origins, to understand the origins of our civilization. So everyone are welcome, and the Khafre Project is an open world. So we are happy to receive the support of the scientific community to move forward in our job. Just for humankind, because humankind, I think, must know from where this civilization originated. And the Giza Plateau is many other sites, all the sites, archaeological sites in the world, are property of humankind and not of one person.
I agree with that. All right, cool. So if you want to finish the thing, I think, yeah, the whole situation with the energy and the numbers, it is what it is. Let me see if he says something at the end here.
And your English, both of you, as much as you're worried about it, I think you came across very well, very understandable.
Oh, thank you.
No, you're most welcome. And but that's good.
Okay, so thank you for watching, and do let me know what your opinion is. If you disagree with some of the statements I made, of course, you're free to do that, clearly. But for today, I think I'm gonna end with this video. As always, my position hasn't changed one bit. Filippo Biondi made some good statements. Armando Mei, maybe at the end I could agree, philosophically speaking, but everything else he said is just the same as the first section of the conference. It is what it is. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.